I spoke to Mark Geragos last week on Friday afternoon after everyone had gone home, sort of thing. We did our podcast, Reasonable Doubt. He's on the Jussie Smollett case now. I referred to him as the FUBU attorney.
That's good.
He hasn't seen a black client he hasn't loved, and I'm like, now Mark has, I get there are many things you could say about Mark Geragos, and half of them would be flattering, and then there's the rest. I know him personally, so I like him as a human. He does the Scott Petersons, and he goes after. He sort of gets involved with the unpopular cases and the popular. It doesn't matter, but he'll go do whatever. Now, I think, as far as I can tell, when people go, "Oh, he's chasing that dollar," you have to understand when you go, that guy. Mark Geragos has many more dollars than Jussie Smollett has. Many more. He really. This is not. He's suing he's suing the state of Rhode Island. I don't know why. Like, that guy has he
doesn't like the way it looked at him.
He has class action lawsuits against continents and stuff.
Right.
Like, he doesn't need. He makes $621 an hour in billable, whatever. That's a nothing burger.
He's
for him.
suing fear. Like, he's moving on concepts now. Forget people and places. He's
right.
He's suing ennui.
There is he does not need the money. He is doing it because he thinks there's been an injustice. Now, I tried to hold his feet to the fire because I have a thought about what Mark is going to do with the Chicago PD and the story. And here is my thought. But first, should we hear a clip? So it's funny. It's kind of weird knowing things. So, I mean, I'm talking to Mark Geragos on Friday afternoon, and he's going, where did this whole money thing come from? Like, Jussie's doing it to get more money. He didn't say that. Where did this come from? And I'm going, I don't know. And he's going, well, I know where it came from. You need a motive, and this is the motive, whatever. And then I turn on Bill Maher that night, and I see Donna Brazile explaining it was all about money. And it's weird. We're living in a weird world, and it's also weird if you know Mark Geragos and you hear. So we'll hear Mark Geragos talk about the money first from Reasonable Doubt.
For instance, let me just give you one example. He did it. One of the things that the police chief said yesterday is he did it because he was dissatisfied with his salary. Not only is that not true, they have video evidence that that's not true. And I know, and nobody, certainly they never asked. They didn't do any investigation on that. They didn't talk to his lawyer. They didn't talk to anybody at the production company. They didn't talk to an agent. Nobody. I've done that. I know for a fact that's untrue. That's categorically untrue. So that's not the motivation, yet that was what was articulated as the motivation. And why do I think that's significant? Motive is not, they don't need motive for a crime. It's not an element of a crime. But it's inexplicable if there's no motive.
All right. So then I get home. So that's Friday afternoon. And then I get home Friday night. I turn on Bill Maher, and there's Donna Brazile. And Bill's like, he wanted attention or something. And then Donna Brazile, who, by the way, I believe is clinically insane, knows the answer.
He wanted to be a victim. He just didn't want to go through all the steps.
He wanted a raise. He wanted a raise. He wanted a raise. He wanted money. That's what he wanted. He didn't want. No one wants to be a victim of hate crimes. No one wants to be a victim of being attacked and brutalized because you're gay or you're black or you're Jewish. That's bullshit. He wanted a pay raise, and he wanted to bring attention to himself. I'm angry with him. I'm upset with him, and he owes not only the city of Chicago an apology. There are real life victims out there today, and I refuse to shut up because he played a terrible game, and it's painful.
It's painful. I always wonder when people are like, it's painful. I'm like, I don't know. I feel like it's a hoax. It's whatever it is, whatever. But I don't feel like it's painful. It's a lot of adults going, it's pain. It hurts so much.
It hurt?
Like, also, a lot of people are like, oh, he was a friend of mine, and now he did this. Like, he was a friend of yours?
Right.
Like, how's everyone friends?
Right.
Like, this guy
Suddenly.
plays this guy. People that are 70 years old are going, yeah, this 32-year-old guy said we were good friends, and I'm in pain because he betrayed me. It's like, I don't feel that way. But she's actually, Donna Brazile. Donna Brazile is actually falling under the heading of mom's friends with a bracelet, making a point thing where she's like shaking the hand and it's clanging, and you're going, she must make a point. There's sound coming out of her wrist. Listen to her wrist. You know she's right.
So is this something that Mark would go after for slander? Because she didn't say allegedly. She didn't say I believe. She said this is why he did it.
I don't know, but that was one of Mark's things. So, but look, Donna Brazile knows. Listen to her, everybody. Bill thought it's because he wanted attention, but she knows it's about the money.
Good thing Bill was corrected.
she just filibustered. But anyway, so then I talked to. So I said to Geragos, "Come on, man! Like he said, and I don't know what this next clip has. We'll play the next Geragos clip so you can kind of get where he's at with Jussie and the Chicago Popo."
The police chief's going to come out, and the police chief's going to do this press conference where demonstrably false stuff is stated, and then while a guy's in custody, when they haven't turned over the any discovery whatsoever, then they do a bond hearing on a case where the guy flew back, and I know all of this because I've been consulted on it. The guy flies back in state so he can be there to talk with the cops, and they basically come out after the bond hearing, after it's a $100,000 bond, and they do what can be best summarized as a closing argument by the prosecutor out there in front of the TV cameras, and then they say, okay, now go take a perp walk through a crazed mob of media and other onlookers, and all of this is done coincidentally, 96 hours before the mayoral election. You've got a police chief who's in the hot seat, and then you got Rahm Emanuel making statements and prejudging the whole thing, and then you've got the idea that you've got R. Kelly getting indicted the very next day with the police chief there, who, as I said, is apparently hot to save his job.
By the way, it broke my heart to have to take the R. Kelly poster down from Natalia's room ceiling. But
it's
enough is enough.
Yeah.
We were reluctant to put it up in the first place.
You defended the man for a long time.
But after this, it had to be removed from the ceiling and put on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
Not just from the ceiling.
Right, but it can't be the last thing she sees before she goes to bed.
That is right.
And you're
unless she sleeps on her side. Sorry.
Basically announcing where the guy lives. There, at a certain point, there is a kind of reasonable and foreseeable consequences to some of these things.
Okay. So now, I have predictions and I have thoughts. And I'd be curious what your thoughts. So everyone's, I think, first blush is like, what's he getting involved with this for? He's not going to win. But how's this going to work? I'll tell you. I was pushing him on it a little bit because I've started to realize there are two facets to an investigation. There is the part where you want to investigate Bill Clinton for Whitewater and some real estate deal that seemed a little murky. And the next thing you know, Monica Lewinsky's coming out and people are getting indicted and things. And it's something has nothing to do with real estate. There might be some of this with Russia and collusion. We start looking into we want to look into Trump and Russia. Before you know it, there's a bunch of other guys that are lying and have bad taxi cab medallions and stuff like that. And then they're going. So it ends up like we're looking into this. We will find something and heads shall roll. So my general thought is I was talking to a guy who used to work at Magic Mountain. You can imagine this. He said they spend millions of dollars a year just on employee compliance stuff. If somebody wanted to come in here from the city into any job, this job, any job, and wanted to walk into here, he could write me up with 5,000 violations. He could say, when's the last time you told Chris Maxapata that he needed to take a 10-minute break every 2 hours? I'd go, never. And they'd go, okay, well, we got a big problem.
Those fire extinguishers,
right there.
those fire extinguishers need to be replaced every 2 years.
Right.
It's been 3 years.
It's like you could go to your favorite restaurant, your favorite kitchen, and favorite everything, and have eaten there a million times. And if you want to take a city health inspector and just randomly walk into that kitchen, find 17 violations.
Yep.
Now we all know it's neither here nor there. You're enjoying your food, it's safe, but that's the way it works.
There's a ladder in the doorway, all those things.
I said to Mark Geragos, this isn't about. So he said, you know, in the state of Illinois, they just had like 10 or 20 guys that were on death row and they were just exonerated with DNA evidence. And I said, yeah, but this isn't that. This is going to be, there was a guy in death row and the cop got the murder weapon by kicking in his front door without a warrant.
Right.
And now he's got to walk. It's not that he didn't kill anybody. It's that they screwed up the system. This system got bungled.
Yeah.
Right. And he said, no.
Well,
I don't care what he said. I feel like that's what's going on.
Yeah.
Now his thing was, no, that's not you'll see that Scott Peterson was innocent.
Yep.
My thing is, these police departments look no further than OJ. They're not what you see on TV. They're a bunch of guys who weren't the top of the class in your high school that got a little comfortable with their whatever, who make $57,000 a year. And there is no such thing as something that's not been screwed up,
right,
according to Mark Geragos. If Mark Geragos wants to get out his jeweler's loop, he will find a million things you did wrong in your investigation and how many times you crossed and took someone's civil liberties away, whatever it is. And that's what I think he's focusing on. But you guys tell me.
Well, I have a quick question about this. Is this sort of a sleight of hand situation where he no longer wants us to focus on what exactly Jussie did and sort of carried out, but this is sort of what happened later and how how justice has worked against him? You know what I mean? Like, we're not really talking about what happened anymore.
I said to him pretty much straight out, this is going to be you in an indictment of the system that he passed through, not why he passed through the system. Did he do it or not? He said no.
Okay.
Max Patty, you can see if you can find that one, but I don't see any other way around this, but you tell me, Brian.
Mark says a lot of things. Apparently Colin Kaepernick's getting signed in the next 24 hours. So I had it on my watch. So that's going to happen, apparently. My thought was related to exactly what you both said, which was Mark did a lot of talking, surprisingly, and a lot of it, 100% of it had to do with what happened at the press conference and beyond. Nothing about the actual incident, nothing about the police work. Because what's funny was when this whole thing, when the case is cracked and the arrest was made and blah blah blah, I was like, damn good job by the Chicago Police Department. They really connected a lot of dots in a short period of time. They found these two dudes. They found the whatever. They did a pretty good job. And here I'm not in the business of predicting, how this case is going to turn out. Mark knows 10,000 times more than I do. But my thought was you're exactly along the lines of yours, Adam, which is this is going to be more about the process, more about what happened afterwards, more about things done wrong than my client is innocent.